Well, howdy, y'all. Welcome back to Multar Aviation. So this is the final video in the aviation weather video series in which I'm talking about dry lines. So hey, I'm Dr. Andy Multar. I'm a flight instructor, a CFI IIMEI. I'm a former corporate pilot, and I'm a professor of aviation. And one of the classes I teach is aviation weather, so you're getting a free college education right here on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe. That way you get notified every time I come out with one of these aviation weather videos. So a dry line is a low-level boundary hundreds of miles long separating moist and dry air masses. So here we have a picture of the great state of Texas. And so we have this dry line right here. And you can see that off over here in the east, we have this warm front. Here on the west, we have this cold front. But in between, we have this dry line. And so one thing I want to make sure you understand is that in this whole area here, the temperature is the same, or relatively the same. The pressure is relatively the same. What's different is that on the east side of this dry line is moist air, and on the west side of that dry line is dry air. So it's not like you have an air mass that's moving. It's more just this drier air parcel is moving eastward, pushing this moist air. And so in Texas, there's this pretty well known dry line that occurs relatively often. And so it starts here in Marfa, Texas, and it just kind of goes up north. And so we call it the Marfa dry line. And so the Marfa dry line typically moves eastward during the afternoon and then retreats westward at night. And dry lines typically produce early morning fog and low level clouds that dissipate as the dry line retreats. A strong wave cyclone can sweep the dry line into the Mississippi Valley or even further east. And so, if this dry line is a strong wave cyclone, then this dry line can cause severe and tornadic thunderstorms. And so, just try to think back of when we're like talking about a cold front, for example. Cold front would come in and it would push all that warm, moist air aloft. Well, the difference is this is a dry line instead of a cold front, but you have all this dry air here on the west side that's going to then push all this moist air aloft. And so it becomes unstable and it creates severe thunderstorms that can produce tornadoes. All right, and that's what you need to know about dry lines. So this has been a long Part 9 aviation weather video series in which we talked about air masses and fronts and the dry line, the wave cyclone model. So if you haven't watched those, make sure you subscribe. That way you get notified every time I come out with one of these aviation weather videos. And in this Part 9 series, can you answer these questions? What properties are used to classify an air mass? What happens as an air mass moves from one region to another? What occurs during a warm front, during a stationary front, during a cold front, during an occluded front? And so if you can't answer those questions, go back and watch those videos. But if you do have any other questions, please leave them in the comment section. I read every single comment and I try to reply to every single comment. But yeah, thanks for watching. You have a great day.